Remind me of those original Xbox and 360 days. Make it feel like that again. You know, I think so much of these last 10 years have been them clawing their way back from losing that. Like, original Xbox and 360 had this amazing, we're the badass place to play games vibe. And then the Xbox One shot that in the foot so hard, they fought the whole Xbox One generation to get that feeling back. Never quite fully got it. Xbox Series X, Series S was painting a very bright future for bringing that back. Like, whoa, the X is the super powerful console. You put that thing on your shoulder, it looks like a bazooka. Hell yeah, man. Xbox Series X, Halo Infinite's going to be a launch title. They were kind of starting to bring back those vibes. If you listen to me and Josh the first year of the podcast, really excited for the future of Xbox. But here we are again, feeling like we're kind of in that Xbox One drought kind of place. Not that cool 360 original vibe, so... But anyways, all I'm saying is, guys, for as much hate as I throw, as much shade as I throw, Xbox can totally be there and just win me over. Josh, what do you got?
I think they're at rock bottom and with momentum right now. So I feel like they can only go up from here. And I want to be on the hopium. I'm on a lot of Xbox hopium lately, and I feel like, just going off the breadcrumbs of what some of the things Phil did say, that I feel like this is probably going to be a good showcase. They make it sound like that even when they promoted it on the Xbox Wire. The way they phrase things, it seems like this is finally going to be the one where we get to see real damn tangible updates and announcements for stuff to really feel like a real traditional proper showcase. Like, if you guys remember last year, Microsoft kind of opened it by saying, we're going to be showing you guys, every game we show you guys is going to come out within a 12-month window, and they didn't hit that. And Phil even says that in that Kind of Funny podcast, you know, and it seems like that's going to be a thing that's gone now, you know, because in a lot of ways it was initially exciting, because for Xbox fans who have been waiting for so long, it's on the premise, on the outset, what does this make you feel? It makes you feel excited because you think, holy shit, like, what are we going to see now? And also, whatever we see, we can be excited because it's going to come out within 12 months. But then that kind of really takes a lot of wind out of the sails on the other end of the spectrum, right? Because
it ended up not being true.
Yeah, it ended up not being true for one, but it takes a lot of wind out of the sails because, you know, some of these games are going to be farther off, but it was still nice to get a look at what they're showing. I remember when Avowed, it was like,
especially when they've showed Avowed and Fable years prior. Like,
Avowed in 2020
update.
Was like a CG trailer announcement. In 2021, I think they tweeted or something. They said, like, we'll have more to show soon. 2 years later, here we are. So I feel like they can only go up. I feel like this is probably going to be a good show, but some way for me, I'll still probably come out disappointed. But that's just me. I don't know why, but I need a shotgun blast thing to get me excited. Like, the perfect scenario is that we see there's a shadow drop, like, release like they did with Hi-Fi Rush, but of a game I'm personally interested in. There is big actual gameplay of games like we're going to get into, like Avowed and Fable, and with at least with one of those having an actual tangible release date, not like some quarter thing, but a genuine release date slapped on it. And also to see some new announcements for games that, like, I didn't even know they had in the pipeline that they're working on. That will, in a whole full circle way, make me feel like, holy shit, Xbox, like, you're overwhelming me right now with excitement. Like, I got this one game I can play right now on Game Pass that, oh my god, I gotta go download this right now. And then also, holy shit, I can finally look forward to this game coming out. It looked amazing. And then also, oh my god, that's coming in the distance. I need the shotgun blast from Microsoft of, like, here's the last 10 years of acquiring all these studios. Here's what you can have now, here's what's coming, and here's what's on the horizon. That's what I need. I don't think that'll happen.
Dude, we need to go back and watch some of the old, just the early or mid to late 2000s Xbox showcases, because remember the showcases where we were seeing Halo 3, Gears of War 2, Fable 2, amidst all the other, like, banger arcade games that had come to the console,
yeah,
third-party partnerships that looked amazing, like... Those early... this pretty much... I'm going to sound like a broken record to people, but so much of my gaming history, my favorite games, my favorite game consoles, my favorite gaming moments, they're all populated by Xbox. But it's all from memories that are pretty much 10 years or older. So it's where it's like, on one hand, this is something that is great and is in my memories forever. For people who have only been around to experience it in the last 10 years, they haven't seen that version of Xbox. They haven't seen the top dog Xbox that we all know from when we were younger.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, let's go into the games, man. Let's kick it off here. Starting with Avowed. Again, guys, this is set in the Pillars of Eternity franchise, the universe, if you will, of Aora, and but it's more of a, I don't know if it is third person, but I know it's first person kind of combat game, a little similar to Oblivion, Skyrim, an Elder Scrolls title, but this is my second most realistic expectation, I think, of what could get me excited for them. I feel like we'll definitely see gameplay, because I don't really see a scenario, guys, where they come out with another CG trailer and that goes over well for Xbox. I don't even think they can afford that at this point. It's been 3 years. They promised for the last 2 that we'd get some updates soon, and I also think, when Phil talks about being optimistic about a lot of the portfolio going forward and stuff like that, and the way Xbox Wire teases that this is the show Xbox fans have been waiting for, I don't feel like you don't show at least 4 minutes of gameplay footage. If they don't, though, wow, I just can't. At that point, I don't see any scenario. Like, you have the inverse of Brian, who's more like rock bottom, like you also that. Look, I can only get more excited about this stuff because as it stands right now, I couldn't care any less for Xbox because of what they're doing. They're not making the kind of stuff I want right now. I couldn't, in a situation where something like that happens and it's just another CG type of update trailer, it'd be hard to even try to debate Brian on that, or people like that share that same mindset with Brian, because it's like, this is one of your big games that you announced 3 years ago. Why are you not showing it? But I think that conversation topic is null and void, because I think we do see it, and I can't wait to see it. I need to get this game in front of me to get a sense of what it's at, so I can set my expectations reasonably. Expectations can make or break a game, can make or break any experience, and I don't want to have expectations for it. In this ironic way, I don't even really know what to expect from this game because we've seen so little. A CG trailer is not enough to go on. I point back to that Dead Island trailer way back in the day that got people so excited, and no one really talks about Dead Island 1 now. I know the second one just came out, but that's not a conversation. People remember the trailer more than they remember the game. And granted, Avowed still didn't give us enough to chew on even with that trailer, but it obviously has a lot of people interested. You have, I think there's Avowed podcasts out there. You have Pillars of Eternity fans, both of the first one and Deadfire. It's got a community of fans and people who want to see that stuff, and it's done by the same developer. So it seems promising. It seems interesting. Until I can get, an Elder Scrolls game, I think this would be a great substitute. And to be honest, I think out of all the studios that Microsoft has acquired, I think Obsidian has been their most consistent one to deliver good games, whether they've been more on the bigger scale or the lower scale. Yeah, so I expect good things.
I'd agree with that, because they had the Outer Worlds. They had was it Garden Warfare? Is that what it's
yeah, it might have been. I don't know. Wait, isn't that EA?
Grounded. My bad. I'm getting that confused with the Plants vs Zombies.
That's EA.
They had Pentiment. Obsidian's great. I'm trying to, because we have this whole conversation about the Xbox showcase. I'm trying to decide if I want to be realistic or optimistic, because I don't think it's going to be that interesting of a conversation if I just go, this is going to suck, Josh. This isn't going to be there, Josh. Because my initial response
just
to you
talk
saying,
from the heart, Brian, tell them how you feel.
I kind of want to do, because I think there is, whether they deliver or not, I think Microsoft has heard that this showcase is extra important.
Yes,
I think they know that this has a higher expectation than what they're used to. Even if they fail, I think they're aware of it. So when you first said Avowed, you hope to see at least 4 minutes of gameplay, my initial response is, I don't think we're going to see Avowed at all at this showcase. I don't think we're going to see it in even a CG form. I don't even think it's talked about. But being optimistic to what I want to see from this showcase and what Microsoft, I think they need to bring it. I think they've probably heard a lot from people that, hey, remember your 2020 showcase? We saw Avowed CG trailer. We saw Fable. We heard about Everwild. I think I'm forgetting another game or two. But I think this would be the moment for them to say, here's real tangible stuff from that showcase that we have been dogged on several times, right?
Yeah.
What better time than to say, here's that game, and that game, all from that 2020 showcase you guys have been dogging us about, and here it is with some substantial content. So if I'm going to take the optimistic approach, I think they would need to show Avowed, and I think it would need to be gameplay, because it's been 3 years. I don't think, and to your credit, Josh, it probably, 4 minutes probably seems different in the context of a showcase than in your head. but probably no chance it'd be 4 minutes in my mind, because usually like a long time spent on a game is like a minute or two, I feel like, when they show.
You think so? I think if you go back and look, Brian, I mean, it's usually around like a 4 minute mark. It's never more.
Okay, well, you know what? Maybe you could be right. I just know 4 minutes is like a lot of time. Like out of an hour,
sure,
that's a big chunk in a sense.
Yeah,
so,
no, that's definitely a good point. That's definitely.
I could see it being like here's a montage of gameplay. That's the montage.
That just goes back to the conversation though of where they've set our expectations. Like, when's the last time we really got, unless you were Halo Infinite or Forza, when's the last time you really got to see Xbox deliver a proper, like, good gameplay segment? I remember the last time I remember was seeing Gears of War 4, and it was that rainy, sort of stormy, like, section in the game. Yeah. I remember that, and that was like a good 4 minute thing, and it was cool. Yeah, it
was really cool. Yeah, it got me excited. Josh, I'm honestly, I'm gonna intentionally talk about Xbox from an optimism standpoint, because I just genuinely, that's where my heart is.
However you want to talk about
it, and I think that's what I want to focus on. So I would say we're gonna see Avowed, and we're gonna see Avowed gameplay, but not as much as Josh wants. No release date. Do you think there'll be a release date for Avowed, Josh?
Gotta be.
Okay. Josh is saying,
because the next one, what we're gonna talk about is Fable, but I just think, between the two, I think Fable's far off. I think I think it was just Corden said that he heard that Fable has only recently entered full production. And if that's to be believed, and if that's true, that's a good sign the game's still a bit off. But Avowed, especially with Obsidian's record, I would expect them to be a game that comes out next year, even if it's holiday season next year. I just feel like we get something on that. Not necessarily a specific release date, but I could see something. That's the one out of the ones they sort of got in the chamber that I feel like we'll get more. I'd be willing to bet more on that one than I would some of the others, but I could be wrong, and I hope I'm right. But next up,
Josh and I both agree. We'll see Avowed. We'll see gameplay. He thinks there'll be a release date. I think there will not.
Yeah.
All right.
But I definitely don't think. I think the one thing I can count on is I definitely don't think they'll just give us another CG trailer and that's it. If we hear anything at all, it won't be
3 years. Come on.
Yeah, that would be really bad. Really bad. I think they know they can't do that. Next up is Fable. I can't wait for this one. This is the one I'm most excited for, simply because I remember a time, like Brian has talked about earlier in the episode. Remember when Xbox and Xbox 360 was just this amazing plethora of experiences that it offered you. We have gotten so conditioned. A lot of you probably don't even remember a time when Xbox wasn't just the burgers, fries, and shakes of Forza, Gears, and Halo. But there was a time when Fable was an IP that was very much in their deck of cards at the table. And it's just not anymore. We've become so associated with Fable not being a part of Xbox, it being a dead IP. And it's hard to believe if you were someone who was there at the time these came out, because Fable was just such a huge, profound game for them. Like, this is a game that's similar, and almost, you could almost give the same argument that it had, or the same example that the Red Ring of Death had, where the Xbox 360 survived the Red Ring of Death. Fable was a game that survived these high expectations that Peter Molyneux, who I love personally, was setting on that game. It didn't deliver all those sort of things he described, but people have a fondness for that game. It's one of Brian's favorite games of all time, and I loved it. I loved it, even though it wasn't necessarily what I remember reading about in some of the magazines. I still had a great time. I remember the charm, sitting there in the main menu, even in Fable 2, just the main menu music was just so majestically beautiful and unique, and it had this almost beautiful eeriness to it, and
it brought its
mystery.
Own mood.
It really had its own vibe. And Fable 3 comes out, and it didn't do as well, but it still had its fans. People were like, okay, what's next for Fable? And then it's like, we're going to do this Kinect game. And then it's like, okay, let's get the ball back.
You know what's crazy, Josh? Fable 3, this is not to be to dog Xbox, but it's just true. Fable 3 was such a better exclusive than Redfall. Like, Fable 3 is talked about as like this crappy game in the Fable series, but Fable 3 was a genuinely fun, single-player, third-person, campaign-driven game that I played. I beat it more than once. I enjoyed that game. Like, that was so much more peak than, like, Redfall was. It's just crazy to where we're at, where that kind of game was dogged, but that's still much better than what we have now. Do you remember the hype, Josh? Do you remember that trailer when Fable 2 was first announced, and it just showed, like, Teresa in the hooded cloak, and she was moving the, like, Chinese fortune thing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the hype, dude. It's crazy that, like Josh said it perfectly, there was a time where it wasn't just the burger fries shake of Halo, Gears, Forza. Fable was very much right there. Like, when are we going to get our new Halo, Fable, Gears, Forza?
It was in the rotation, and it's
but
been
now
gone.
it's seen as this dead IP, and the last few games were a Kinect game and an arcade game. And then Legends, which never got released.
I think Ryan McCaffrey on Unlocked's podcast, I think he said it best, but like, one of the biggest blunders they probably ever made was trying to put out Fable Legends, because they took a single-player RPG game with all these choices, and they said, you know what, we're going to turn this into a multiplayer cooperative game. And it didn't even get a full release. And it's just like, what are you doing, Microsoft? Like, what a way to blunder. Like, they had Lionhead. This is a great case to Brian's argument of not having faith in Microsoft with their studios and the Activision Blizzard stuff. But look what happened with Lionhead. You know, they just completely screwed Lionhead over, and Lionhead's no more, and Fable's not been. This Fable, you guys, was developed at a studio known as Lionhead, and this new one, this reboot, isn't even from a lot of those people. It's from the developers who make the Forza games at Playground Games. So, it's just interesting where we're at now with Fable. I think, in the very least, we get a CG trailer. Another CG trailer, but something that gives us a better sense of the story for this Fable. But I would personally love to see, my hope for this, realistic hope, is that we get maybe like a 2 to 3 minute vid doc type of thing where they show a couple developers, almost like an old Halo 1, but less like in length, where you see the developers kind of talking. You'll kind of, like, if you pause it, when you watch it again, you can see in the background like a character doing a swing animation, something like that. I don't think we're necessarily going to get gameplay. I don't think we'll necessarily get a release date. I definitely don't expect a release date yet. I think this is still a far off game, like a 2020, like holiday 2024 at the earliest, but 2025 at the most likely to me. But I miss Fable. I miss it. I felt like Xbox had something with this. I was always playing through those games, even though I've only played the first two, but I was playing through those games with this sort of mentality of like, it feels like these games could be so much more than they are, but if I can just cast that aside and just take them for what they are, the wonderful charm that is there with the music and the characters and the jokes and how you can, just go around farting and stuff like that. I mean, it gave so much life to this game that it had this IP had a personality, and to just see it gone is so weird to imagine. And it's weird to imagine a conversation where there are Xbox fans out there that are so young that they don't remember a time when Fable was a part of that deck of cards. So to go over to Brian, I'm really excited for this one. Just to see an update on it alone is enough to get me jumping out of my chair. But I hope it's not just a CG trailer, but that's what I'm going to expect realistically.
Man, Josh, here's what's crazy. Xbox, they just need to remind me of the good old days. For all the positive talk I have about Sony's exclusive IPs, I like Halo, Gears, and Fable more than anything Sony has. I like those three
more than Final
Gears,
Fantasy
Halo,
7.
Well, I don't. Is that a first party? I mean, the remake.
It feels like it.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, no, Final Fantasy 7 I would put above Gears and Fable, but that's kind of third party. But like, we're talking about the God of War, Last of Us, Horizon, Bloodborne, all those other types, Spider-Man. I like Fable, Halo, Gears way more than all of Sony stuff. So while I'm over here on Sony all the time, talking about their exclusive IPs, buying their content, propping them up, Microsoft is sitting on three of the most important IPs in my life that I all enjoy more than Sony's games. Halo Infinite, I know that's a game that came out, didn't win over the industry. People talk bad about it more than good. I like Halo Infinite more than God of War Ragnarok, Horizon, Well, actually, no, I probably don't like it more than Bloodborne. But I like Halo Infinite a lot. And that's only on Xbox. So and then Gears 4 and 5, those were good games. They're they haven't hit the highs for me as old Gears, but Gears, Halo. Now we need Fable. Remind us of these good old days, man. My roots are in this Xbox content. And just bring us back. It just makes me so sad that they have this. And that's also what gets me on my soapbox about Activision Blizzard. Don't make me concerned with you purchasing Activision Blizzard. make me concerned with the IP you already have. Use that money to bring back Fable and make more Gears Halo content. Bring a Banjo-Kazooie game out.
Yeah, I think everything comes down to this showcase in particular, just for the future of like confidence in Xbox as a brand, just because of that. You know, it's easier to sort of not think or just let that conversation of the acquisition hang in the air if we know what they're putting out is good, because then you can get more excited about that. Then you feel less reserved about that type of thing happening and just the precedent it sets, right? I mean, I feel like I would love a scenario where Xbox gets back to its nostalgic roots, which is like, Brian is someone who just loves nostalgia. He replays a ton of stuff, loves the nostalgia, loves to like steep in it and that, and I get that because I like that too in my own ways, just not as much as Brian, to his credit. But you know, we miss that. I do miss that era, and in some ways I don't think you can necessarily go back, but I feel like all we need to just remind us of those good old days is Fable. Fable's the one thing that's missing. You had Halo, that was this, you know, kind of like awesome mystery shooter. Then you had this bro dude shooter in Gears of War. Then you had this beautiful looking racing game that just never disappoints in the Forza franchise. And then you had this fantasy RPG that was third person and lets you be who you wanted to be. And it was just so much fun to look forward to those games. And, you know, part of the thing I'll miss with this game is getting to see Peter Molyneux get on stage. That dude was ASMR for my ears. I loved listening to him talk, because even though he was so up his own butt, I loved what he said because he felt convicted. Like, he had a sense of conviction in what he was saying and what he wanted to deliver. He cared about the product he was making, even if they didn't deliver on some of those promises. But man, I don't know. The bar is so low that even just getting the mention of Fable is going to get me excited. And it's one of those things where I'm like, dude, there's a part of me that's like, man, I can't even, I feel like I almost can't even get excited for that, because 3 years, you know, of not hearing a single damn thing about that game makes me feel like this should be it. This should be the time, with all the shit that's been happening. This should be the time that they're going to show it, whether they've had to pivot to make something happen to show it, or whether that was already in the cards. But on the other hand, it's like, this 3 years, what's to say they don't give it? They're like, you know what, 4 years, fuck it. We're not going to show it until this thing is really ready. I don't know what to expect, but I want it. And honestly, it's going to make me happy, because that's more a nostalgia pool with a new developer who can really help reinvent it, reinvigorate it. But then also showing us new IPs, stuff that's not just nostalgia focused. We need to not live in the nostalgia, but be able to take part in it, you know? So like, being able to have something like a Vow that's new, cool. Being able to have something more retro infused that's being brought again to modern day, like Fable, awesome. So there could be a great scenario where this just comes out and it's a banger.
Yeah. I mean, as far as what you were saying with what you expect for Fable to be here, I think we're going to absolutely see Fable. Fable has to be here, but
what kind?
I think it's going to be a short. What do you call it when it's? Because I said this on one of our prior episodes about Avowed. What do you call it when it's gameplay, but it's in a montage type sentiment and there's no UI on the screen? Is that just like B-roll footage, I guess?
I think so. That's what I would call it.
I think we're going to see that.
Like the no HUD and everything you're saying, and it just kind of
no HUD,
a couple
like,
quick shots,
you know,
maybe
maybe you're seeing the Fable character fight, but it's from like his foot perspective,
yeah,
you know, down below and stuff. Like, I think we're gonna see that.
That would be cool. Sure, man.
I think we'll see Fable gameplay, so we can get an idea for like what this game is.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna be that like hands on the controller UI. This is a quest, and it's not gonna be released this year at all.
Yeah.
There's gonna be no release date.
I think this is
maybe
one of their
next
farther
year,
games. Yeah.
Like Josh said, 2025. Honestly, might be where it's at.
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking. Yeah. Next up is Starfield. We already did kind of talk about that, but I'll just say I can only get more excited for this game personally. I know I feel like a broken record talking about this game, to be honest, but that demo that they showed last year didn't really do too much for me until they show that kind of like almost Brian just said, like the B-roll stuff where they're sort of like taking you through like talking to NPCs, wandering around, and a couple little action shots. Stuff like that started to kind of get me more excited than the actual core like combat scenario we got in the game. So I'm only going to get more excited for this game, but Bethesda isn't making this game specifically for me, so I know I'm going to end up in some ways a little bit lukewarm one way or the other, but I felt like that experience was more across the board of like, here's all these different things this game's going to offer, and we're trying to show you this within like 15 minutes or whatever it was, but I never really got a core sense of any specific aspect of what they're offering. Like I didn't get a core sense of like what it would be like to play through the story, what it would be like to experience combat, what it would be like to go and do this Uncharted world procedurally generated stuff. I never got a real core idea. It was so across the board in so short a time. That's why I'm happy they're having a Starfield Direct, but I also don't expect it to be very long. I'm expecting another 15-20 minute thing with that. But over to you, Brian. I don't really have anything else to say with that other than I can only get more excited from here, and I want to be.
I think perhaps they're leaning too hard on, and this is where I'm at, but I think they're leaning too hard on the fact that, oh, people know what we are. We're Skyrim or Fallout, and this is just another version of that, but it's our space version. I think they're leaning so hard into that they haven't actually given us enough to be excited for, but at the same time, to their credit, that is all they need to do to win me over. Mm-hmm. Just have Starfield literally be at least, and I know some people hate Fallout 4, be at least Fallout 4. I like it. I like it for sure.
I love it.
Be
I
at
want
least
some more
Fallout 4. I tried so hard. I can't rise above it.
Oh, yeah.
It has to be at least Fallout 4 quality for this new IP. Just be Fallout 4 all over again with that quality of scope and that quality of gameplay. But just in this new IP for Starfield, if you can just pull that off, that is the kind of IP, that is the kind of exclusive we're looking for. And I think they think that people are already expecting that, so they haven't had to show as much. But let's be real here, we're the nerds of the industry, right? Like, how many people actually know what Starfield is out there? How many people actually have a concept of what this game is? This needs to be the time where they say, this is what Starfield is, this is what you can do, this is why you should be excited. This is the moment to sell. The game's coming out in September.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't disagree with any of that. I feel like we're in mostly the same place with Starfield, and I feel like we can only get more interested in it. So, hopefully that Direct gives us a more broader view than what felt like a more highlight reel. And also,
it just goes to show, man. You've already talked about Avowed, Fable, and Starfield. That's 3 bangers right there if they're all good games.
Quick question before we move on, Brian. I feel like I know the answer to this, and I'm going to agree with it. But Phil Spencer was asked in the Kind of Funny Games podcast, will we get official confirmation of the frames per second for this game? Because that's clearly a big deal, even though it's not as much for Brian and I personally. That's a big conversation piece. Brian, do you see this coming out 30 frames per second? Because that's what I'm seeing.
There's 0% chance it's 60.
I don't see 60 either.
Zero. Here's the thing, though. Okay, on one hand, there's me who dogs Redfall and says Redfall sucks. It was a crappy game. It wasn't finished. It was broken. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, they said it was going to be 60 frames, and then it was 30 frames at launch. That's just me roping in another problem amidst the rest for the sake of my argument.
A little bit more ammo, huh?
But I don't think it really matters if Starfield's 30. If the game performs well and runs at a solid 30, I'm okay with that. Haven't we played a lot of the prior Bethesda games at 30 when they come out?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you would agree, right, that you expect the typical Bethesda-ness of some of the bugs, but you want it, but it has to perform well.
I don't want to jump on that negative train and pretend like if they come out and say Starfield won't be 60, Microsoft has just doomed themselves for eternity. Obviously, saying that it won't have a 60 option is going to be negative press. There's no positive to that. But just they haven't promised it, right? To my knowledge, they haven't promised it. So all you do is come out and say, this is going to be a rock-solid 30 frames per second game, and that's all there is to it. And I know it's the most powerful console in the world. They've marketed it that way. You have your PC release, which is obviously going to be 60. So on one hand, it makes you think, why can't we get 60 frames for a first-party game? Can't you at least give us a little slider that says performance or resolution mode, right? But in this instance, I'm willing to give them that. If it's a solid 30, the game's not broken at launch, it's a good game, that's okay. That can be 30 FPS isn't innately a bad thing. I'm always going to prefer 60, but I play games all the time. I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom at 30 right now. I never notice a problem unless it drops. Sometimes I'll be playing Tears of the Kingdom and it'll be 15 enemies on screen, a horse, and then something falling out of the sky, and it drops down to 20 frames.
Right.
That I can tell. That's jarring as hell. But when it's staying that consistent 30, I'm never sitting here thinking, man, I wish Tears of the Kingdom was at 60. I think that's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, so, I'm still new to realizing that stuff, so I admit that I'm out of my element. So I know that the people who care deeply about that stuff are people that are more intensely aware of that type of stuff than I am. So I would love 60.
What I will say though, Josh, is if I'm playing Skyrim on my Series X at 60, and then I immediately switch over to my Switch at Tears of the Kingdom. Like immediately, I switch it.
You'll notice it.
It's such a huge notice for me. It takes me 10-15 minutes to get over the difference, because my eyes register everything's going half the speed.
When I played 2/3 of Cyberpunk in quality mode, and then I switched over to performance, where it was like the 60 frames per second or whatever. It didn't have the ray tracing and all that, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't believe how different
Smooth
it was,
as butter.
and I couldn't switch it back. I went into that game wanting to see it look as beautiful as possible, so I could get that illusion that I'm playing it on the PC, But then, but then I switched over to the 60 FPS, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't care about as much as I think I care about the graphics. I want this game to run smooth like that. So I understand. But yeah, I see 30. But Brian, I saw Dustin Legary from IGN on Twitter recently put out a hot take that got a lot of people upset. And he said that he thinks Starfield is the most important Xbox game since Halo Combat Evolved. I personally see where he's coming from, but I want to hear your take on that, because it pissed people off. And it wasn't like maliciously intended, but it really took off for like a day or two recently. So what do you think about that, man?
I completely agree, actually, because that seems like a huge statement to make, but once you break it down, it's really not as big of a statement as it seems.
I agree.
Obviously, Halo Combat Evolved is what sold the console. Halo 2 kept people invested in that market. Then people went over to the 360, not only for the promise of Halo 3, but for the fact it released early. It was the first HD system. You had the banger Xbox Live service. I mean, you got to think, when the 360 launched, no one really had any knowledge of a Sony or a Nintendo online. It just seemed like Xbox was the only way you played games online on your console. So they had lots of things to keep you invested for the 360. When you come over to the Xbox One, the thing that they were counting on was loyalty, and they shot the loyalty in the foot immediately when they released the Xbox One. Point. So then it became, what games does Xbox One have? First, it seemed like MCC was going to be that reason to buy it. A lot of people went out and bought a console for MCC. But then MCC was broken. It was broken for years, so that wasn't it. And Halo 4 had already been a game that people weren't as keen on as the Bungie games. Halo 5 comes out, people are even less keen on that one. Gears of War, the trilogy already ended. Now you're getting Gears of War 4. Great game, but it's just more of the same. It's just continuing under a new developer. Xbox One was kind of the generation where people started realizing there's not really a reason I need to own an Xbox. We got people in our community now who never bought an Xbox One because they just played the things that they thought they wanted to play on PC. They got MCC on PC, things like that. So Xbox One was kind of this generation where it became, there's really not a particular game you need to own an Xbox for. And now we get to Series X, where the big Halo and the big Gears games are on the PC, and they're also not as big as they were back in the 2007 era.
Yeah.
So now it's, and now people are talking about all the exclusives on the Switch and the exclusives on the PlayStation. Now everyone's looking at Microsoft to deliver their next big IP. Redfall wasn't it. Halo Infinite, sadly, was not a continuation of a big IP that allured people. Starfield has to be that game. Starfield, we've already mentioned this episode. Josh and I have 3 different people in our lives we know who went out and bought an Xbox Series console exclusively because they wanted to be able to play Starfield. Starfield already has a legacy because of Bethesda and what they did with Skyrim and Fallout. They just need to carry it through and release a good game that performs well on this console. Provided they do that, this is a huge moment. If Starfield is a Skyrim moment, you're going to see Xboxes fly off the shelves for at least this season, this fall season into Christmas because of Starfield. Now, it may go back to be dropping off a cliff again starting next year when everyone's already played Starfield and moved on to back to their PlayStations and Switches or whatever. But at least for now, it needs to be that. This is the game that not only needs to move consoles, get people talking positively about Xbox, but be the starting point for what is to come of more Xbox games, of Fables and Avows and Hellblade 2s. This needs to be the beginning point. So yeah, this is, I would say it's something like, Halo 1, Halo 2, Gears, Halo 3, Gears 2, Gears 3, Halo Reach, and then probably this is probably the biggest game for Xbox since Halo Reach, I would probably say. Like 2010. So 10 years, over 10 years. I mean, most of Xbox's life, this is the biggest game since.
No, I agree. I mean, I feel like they relied that whole Xbox One era, they had to really look at their veterans and rely on those IPs to carry them forward. And I think Halo Infinite was unfortunately the breaking point where Halo Master Chief was just like, I'm tired, boss, and has been carrying it for so long, and it wasn't enough. And people are just like, well, that stuff's cool when you have like original stuff to combat it and or contrast with it. But yeah, Starfield will hopefully deliver. I mean, I feel good about that game because even though that's not a game I'm like over the moon for, I can only get more excited. And there's so many people out there that are just like so stoked for this game. So I do look forward to that period when that game comes out this year, and to see people playing it, posting about it, sharing stuff of what they're doing in the game. It's going to be cool to see Xbox have that, because like Halo Infinite, I don't feel like, even at its peak when the multiplayer came out or when the campaign came out, I don't think the discussion at its peak, at its most enthusiastic, will be able to reach what Starfield does at its peak of when that releases. And that's not a diss on Halo Infinite. It's just Starfield is a new IP under the Xbox banner, and it's also from the same people who brought us, with some of the best games of all time. So, yeah, I'm excited. Next,
I mean, Halo Infinite, or Halo as a series is older than Mario was when we played Combat Evolved. Ooh, that franchise is older. Yeah. So Halo is just an old game series now. It doesn't have the moving power that it used to, especially when you've had less than stellar releases by people's terms. And the thing about Starfield here's what I don't really get, and I should have done my research beforehand, but like everyone seems to be treating Bethesda like they're this wild card of will they be good or not. But for me, it's like they've really never proven that they aren't just good, because I know there's Fallout 76, but to my understanding, they slapped their name on it and did stuff with it, but it was largely like other teams, like Arcane and stuff, putting that game together while they were working on Starfield and stuff like that, and other games like that. So I don't think it was fully them behind it. If you look at the games that Bethesda's been fully behind, Bethesda Softworks, the developer, it goes Morrowind, Oblivion, Fallout 3, Skyrim, Fallout 4. I mean, we're talking about some of the most banger games in the industry.
They've been on a great track record since.
There's no reason why Starfield shouldn't be a good game. It might not be as good as Skyrim. Heck, it might not be as good as Fallout 4, but it should be good. Like, this should be a very solid, awesome experience. And with as much time as they spent and the type of games they make with the Gamebryo engine, like, I think people are underplaying what we're about to experience. This is a massive multi-100-hour journeying across the galaxy and different planets with our spaceship, with our companions, doing quests, running across crazy moments like Whodunit or like the Dark Brotherhood. I mean, this is big. Like, this is a big release, man. Like, I know it's possible that this could be the moment where they drop the ball and it's a bad game, but like, fully get ready for a Game of the Year contender here with Starfield. I think we're just sick of talking about it because it's all Xbox has, right? Like, it's the one leg they have to stand on, and that makes it so annoying to hear about all the time. Well, what about Starfield? What about Starfield? They gotta deliver on Starfield. Well, at least we have Starfield. It's like, shut the heck up about Starfield already. But it's gonna be a banger, probably.
Well said, Brian. Joe, you gotta clip that shit right there. That was the most enthusiastic I've seen Brian this episode of the potential of what that game could be. That was cool.
I mean, it's gonna be huge, probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
like I said, I can only get more excited for it, and I want to be that excited for it. That's an awesome thought. And I think going back to the Halo topic, I feel like, when you're a franchise that has gone for a while and you come back and you try to do a soft reboot and it doesn't disappoint, but it underperforms, I think you just have to go back into the fridge or the freezer for a long time, and you gotta kind of wait a while. Like, I don't want to personally see a Halo Infinite 2 right away. I just let this game be what it's going to be.
Halo Infinite 2 announcement would be a little early, especially when we know 343 is in pieces.
Yeah. But next up, this will be interesting. Quake. Do you think we see a Quake announcement?
Quake. Ooh.
How could that make you feel?
If id Software
listen to Brian's tone right now,
and they announced full-on Quake to the scale of like Doom Eternal, like single-player campaign, bringing back the IP, and it looked like a banger, this might win the showcase.
You play on that nostalgia for Brian, and he's in. I love it.
I mean, Quake is an amazing... Well, I mean, not all the games are as good, but like, it's an amazing IP, amazing series. And the fact is, we've seen what id can do with Doom and Doom Eternal. Yeah. Those are phenomenal games. I can only imagine what their rendition of Quake would look like. And there's two different ways they could take it. Are they going to go Quake 1, medieval shooter? Are they going to go Quake 2, sci-fi shooter? Either one would be awesome. I prefer the medieval one, but I think there's a decent chance id Software is working on Quake, and ooh man, announcing a Quake,
Yeah.
even just a Quake, like it pops up on screen and it says Quake is now in development. That would get me big, even if there's no.
Just to know that there's a new Quake on the
Just
horizon.
to know, because I'm like that, and that, you know that's gonna be fire, and you already have Xbox as this console that you see as a first-person shooter console, and you know for sure, especially at this point after Sony has been huge dicks regarding the Activision Blizzard acquisition, I should say. There's no way that this Quake game is going to be going on a Sony console, so this is going to be an exclusive IP. It's going to be by the id Software team with like
would really help balance out the potential scenario we paint with Bungie and Killzone over
I didn't even think about this one. Josh is getting me real excited.
tell.
Quake, dude, that would be huge. That would be absolutely huge. Because I thought you were going to. You might. There's a good chance this is on your list anyways, but I thought you were going to say Machine Games Wolfenstein 3, which is something I was prepared to talk about. Quake, though, I wasn't. That would be huge. Holy shit.
Yeah, dude, I would get pumped for that, man. I love Quake 4, and I know that's
Would you buy Quake, or would you wait?
I would absolutely buy it.
Okay.
I would absolutely buy it. It doesn't take a lot to please me with AAA first-person shooters, but I think that Immortals game that Diante's excited for, that one doesn't get me going as much personally, but I know that's another game he's excited for that's going to be
I just don't like the name of it. It looks good.
Yeah.
The name of it's just too much.
Yeah,
Too
I'll be relying on Diante to kind of maybe sell my get my enthusiasm up for that game. But yeah, I miss games like that. I miss games like Quake, and Quake has been gone long enough that it damn well deserves a reboot. You know, like it really does. But speaking of that, I did have it on the list, Brian. Let's talk about Wolfenstein 3.
I think it's the time. Now is the time to announce Wolfenstein 3. Yeah. You have acquired this studio through
BJ
Bethesda.
Blazkowicz's up too.
Wolfenstein it had a big comeback, and honestly, even though I'm not as huge on the new Colossus, that was still a pretty solid game.
Still liked it.
And a Wolfenstein 3 is definitely a big seller for, especially if you're going to make it an exclusive for your console. Once again, I'm never advocating for games to be kept off other platforms, but most likely Wolfenstein 3 would be an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah.
It's going to go up on Game Pass as well. If you can make Wolfenstein 3 at least as good as the new Colossus, if not as good as the New Order, that's a huge one. This is the time. Get me excited. Come on. If you're coming out to the showcase and you're showing Quake, Wolfenstein 3, Fable, Avowed, Hellblade 2, holy shit. Starfield? That's a
It sounds amazing. You know,
that's a showcase.
That's why I had to preface so many times, guys, about this leak being fake, because I just don't see a scenario where we get everything like this. But it sounds amazing.
What we're talking about, if this happens, all those games and a lot of its gameplay and some of it's releasing in the next year, there's a decent chance they win this year for E3. This could be Avowed, Quake, Wolfenstein 3, Avowed 2, Starfield. And then suddenly people were like, okay, Microsoft, that Redfall, like that was just you taking it to cleanse your system before you go work out at the gym, and you just worked out, and baby, you looking built. I want to get on that train.
Yes.
That's it. Now, of course, if we get optimistic and say all this, and then they come out and they show off a bunch of indie games, a couple CG trailers, they don't show anything for Fable, anything for Avowed, and then all we have is Starfield, then we're going to be like, really, Microsoft? You've tricked me for the upteenth time. Again.
You've tricked me. Good job, Loki. You got me again.
See, and this just paints a picture of this is how I used to see Xbox. And I would wager you probably saw it this way too, Josh. I know Diante in our community, he definitely saw it this way. Xbox, in my mind, used to be this big, beefy, black box that just had these gritty, badass games like Halo, Gears, Doom, Quake.
My face is so scrunched up.
Wolfenstein. Like it just felt like Sony's got good games. Sony's got, Uncharted. Sony's got whatever, Spider-Man. Yeah, that's cool. But that's where the fun people who skip through the meadows play, right? We on Xbox. We're bleeding over here because we got Gears and Halo, we got Quake. It's just hardcore and it's badass. That's what Xbox used to feel like to me. Even when Xbox was losing to Sony, it used to feel like, but we're the badass gamers. Anymore, it just feels like Xbox is shallow. We don't have anything gamers, Yeah. So bring back a badass Xbox. Come on.
Next up, Hellblade 2. I feel like this is definitely going to be shown. and I do feel strongly optimistic. The one thing I feel the most confident about betting on, if I was to, is that this sees a holiday release. I feel like quarter 4, that's going to be that release.
Yeah, I think we are going to not only see Hellblade 2, we're going to see more gameplay, and we're going to get a little asterisk next to this. We're going to get an announcement date, but it might be spring 2024 or summer 2024 or coming fall 2024. I would love to see it this year. I think it would help make their showcase a banger if they said that you can count on not only Starfield, but Hellblade 2 in 2023. Especially, it would make up for the miss that was Redfall. But I think what's going to happen is they show off Hellblade 2, show off gameplay, coming out next year. Probably not a definitive day release, but like summer 2024 or something. And hey, this is a big one, right? Like, to me, Hellblade, this is a Sony quality game. Like that big, like Horizon, God of War, Last of Us, big AAA third-person type game that Xbox is getting, and I am excited to see, because Hellblade 1 was more of a smaller project, not as much money put behind it, but anyone who's played Hellblade 1 usually talks a pretty big game about it, because that game was freaking awesome. Actually, I could go for a replay right now. I should probably do a replay on my Xbox, because when I first played Hellblade, it was only on the PlayStation, but Hellblade 1 was awesome. Xbox needs a Hellblade 2-like game. This could be it, man. Like, Josh, for the first time,
this could be.
For the first time that Phil came out and started saying stuff that just made us all sad, this is the first time you're getting me optimistic, thinking, wow, this showcase could be huge if they actually deliver with some of the stuff we're talking about. I don't want to be let down again. Survey says I will be, but I don't want to be.
I love that. No, that's true. I'd love to see Hellblade 2. This was a game I played around the time Brian was getting married, I think. So I kind of associate like that. Like, same with the Wolfenstein games. There was a lot of games I was playing around that time. I was at like the peak of my gaming enthusiasm around Brian's wedding. And some of these I was playing too because they were off the backs of me having seen Brian play it first, that being a game like I'm a fly on the wall with, where I'm like, that does look kind of interesting, I want to try it out. So I fell in love with that game. I loved how it interspersed like the game's graphics with sort of like real actors like standing in, almost like as visages, that she's seeing and stuff like that.
Well, and the way that it incorporated the audio.
Oh like, my gosh, binaural audio, I think it was, yeah.
I played it with headphones, and like there's these voices in your head the whole time you're playing, and like they had some kind of simplistic puzzle solving in the game, but like it just painted this, I don't know, the game was very special to me. And honestly, when I first played Hellblade 1, it went on my top 50 games list, and I haven't played it in many years, and it's not on there anymore, and I wonder if replaying it would remind me of just how good that game was.
Yeah. No, absolutely. This is a game I really, really want to see, and I feel like it's definitely a given. I feel this is one of those out of the ones they sort of announced in 2020 that I feel like, okay, we're definitely getting an update on that. Like, it's a safe assumption. I don't think there's any scenario we don't hear from it, and I won't be disappointed.
And it just reminds me of, because like me and Josh, like I said, if you go back to the first year of the podcast, me and Josh were pretty optimistic for Xbox. If you remember that the Game Awards of 2019? Yeah, 2019 Game Awards, dude. They showed this weird trailer. You didn't know what was happening. And they showed, whoa, Forza car. Whoa, Halo Infinite Master Chief. Whoa, Hellblade. I think they showed some other games. It might have been Gears, I'm not sure what. And then it kind of like panned out, and it revealed the Xbox Series X for the first time, what that console looked like. And it was like, holy shit, did Microsoft just reveal their next gen console at the freaking Game Awards? And it looks like a tower PC? Whoa, and they showed Hellblade and Halo Infinite? Damn, this is exciting. Xbox is back. Little did we know, everything they showed off there wasn't coming in the next year. Even Halo Infinite, come to think of it, that was 2 years off. So like, it was just, once again, showing, and like they told but they didn't show.
Yeah. Next up is, it says Cyberpunk 2077 DLC, which we know to be Phantom Liberty. Do you think we'll see that there? Or do you think that's a Summer Game Fest thing, Brian?
I think there's a good chance it's there, because that's an easy way to bolster the Xbox showcase, right? Because for me, as a viewer, if they show off Phantom Liberty gameplay, the DLC for Cyberpunk, which is obviously not a first-party exclusive, it's still a win, though, right? Like it makes me excited, because that's something I'm probably going to play for a game I like. So them having it at their showcase is only a win. It's not something they have to develop or promise, but it's something they can show.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think we'll see it.
Completely agree.
I think it'll be there.
Interesting.
So,
interesting.
You know.
Another one that's this is a fun topic. Scalebound. It's getting resurrected. Brought back
zero
from
chance.
The deaths. The deaths.
Zero chance. And I'm gonna drop a hot take here, Josh, and people will not like this.
Ooh, here we go.
To me, Scalebound is a game that the excitement for it truly came to a head once it was canceled. It's a case of, this is a game, I'm not going to say no one was excited for it. I'm not going to say it wouldn't have been beneficial for Xbox to have another awesome IP in their library. But this is a game where the noise that this game made prior to it being canceled was very minimal. This was not something that people talked about night and day. This is not something people couldn't wait to play nonstop. It wasn't this mainstream thing until it got canceled. And now it's become this like legendary game that never got released, and it's all because Big Bad Microsoft canceled it and didn't have faith in it.
It is interesting.
Do you remember? I just thought of what it was. I was trying to think of what to compare it to. Do you remember The Last Guardian, Josh? Do you remember how much people talked about The Last Guardian?
Yeah, I do.
The PlayStation? Mm-hmm. For so many years it was, when's The Last Guardian coming? Year after year, no Last Guardian, no Last Guardian, no Last Guardian. Finally, The Last Guardian releases.
Badly.
Mostly was a game that people don't really talk about. It wasn't bad, but it was kind of
Brian, what was that,
you know?
one fucking game they put out on, I think it was PS3, and it was the aerial game where you're flying on a dragon and it had like the motion
Lair.
Remember that, bro?
Yeah.
Remember how much that was hyped up and just
it turned out to be a dud.
Yeah. Oh.
And know what's crazy? They actually patched in regular controls because it had six axis motion controls.
Yeah.
It's the only way to play it. They actually patched in real controls later to make the game better, but by that point, the game was nobody cared about it. It got bad
momentum's
reviews.
Definitely
Nobody played it.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Hey, if Scalebound somehow makes its way there, awesome. But I don't think that's one of those things when you look at something like this and you see a list of what says confidential leaks, you see something like that and you go, okay, no, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna ask a lot of questions. But another one. Xbox doesn't have a lot of fighting games. Xbox isn't really known for a lot of fighting games. Do you think we see a return of Killer Instinct?
I can see that, but I'm also like, Microsoft, do you really want to take on
nuts.
a new Street Fighter, a new Mortal Kombat, and a new Tekken all at the same time? Maybe best to just leave that one alone.
It's interesting because I know that they have their fans, but I just... Killer Instinct as a fighting game as a whole hasn't ever been one that has really got me interested. I did play the Xbox One version because of some of the characters it had, you know, like I think it had Ram in it and Arbiter and stuff like that, but yeah, and it was free, but I don't know, I think I'm in the minority. I'd rather see them, if they're gonna do a fighting game at some point, take a crack at that. Give me some original, give me something that's not been done. Don't give me a pre-established franchise. I
feel like Killer Instinct's a safer bet than what you're asking for, but I also don't feel like Killer Instinct's a safer bet.
I just don't think that lands with enough momentum, but it has its fans. People are asking for that every year.
Street Fighter comes out in weeks, Mortal Kombat 1 comes out this year, and then Tekken's probably coming out beginning of next year.
Yeah.
3 huge fighters.
Yep.
I don't think this is the time to bring out Killer Instinct.
Well, I know one we're definitely going to see, new Forza Motorsport. Brian, is there anything they can do to get you excited about Forza Motorsport?
No, because honestly, back in the high school days, them putting the Warthog in Forza would have been enough for me to buy it, just to say I have the Forza game in my collection that has the Warthog. But by the time they finally put the Warthog in Forza, I was kind of like, I don't think I want to buy it. And now they've put in the Warthog several times, and I don't care. I don't know, but I think there's going to be a full gameplay and a strict day and date announcement for this.
Yeah, do you see that Q3? I'm thinking.
I think it'll come out. Ooh, it would have to be after. Well, you think it's before Starfield?
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm curious.
Be summer.
You feel like it's got to come out this year.
I think it's after.
You think it's after? So you think?
I think it's late October.
Hypothetically, we're just saying Starfield, Forza, and then maybe Hellblade. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say you're going to get Forza late October, and Hellblade's not going to make this year.
Okay. Definitely fair. You know, I could always get excited for Forza again. I'm just waiting for the right moment, I guess, because I played, I think it was Forza Horizon 4 a couple of years ago, and dude, that game was a lot of fun. Like they said my voice, or they said my name in the game like it was voiced. They were calling my character Joshua, you know, and I was like, that's me. You know, I was excited, and I was so new to the Forza series that I didn't realize they had sort of I think, what are they called? Drivatars, where it's like, they will randomly just put gamer tags of your friends around the other cars, so it gives you this illusion that you're racing with people on your friends list. And Jeff told me when he first downloaded that game through Game Pass and was playing it, he saw J-Level7, which is my gamer tag, and immediately veered into my car and drove me off the road because he thought it was me. And I was like, you asshole. So I think that game has a lot of fun to it. But moving on, you want to know another reason why I just saw this and I thought this is BS. Fallout New Vegas 2.
I don't think we'll see that.
Okay.
I don't think it's even being preconceptualized.
Okay.
Yet. But I have thought to myself before, and it's probably not. This is a very fanboy kind of thing to say. I don't think it works like this internally in companies, but to me it seems like, because I was listening, I've listened back to our episode where you say Starfield 2 probably won't come out while we're alive, and I'm like, yeah, we're dead.
Yeah.
It made me think Obsidian has people who originally worked on the original Fallouts. Mm-hmm. What is culturally known as the best Fallout game is New Vegas, which was made by Obsidian. And Bethesda takes an eternity to make their games. Why not just have Bethesda make Elder Scrolls and Starfield, two IPs that they created and fostered, and have them trade off those two forever, and just have Obsidian become the full Fallout studio?
That, yeah.
But I don't think it's as simple as Microsoft bought Bethesda, so now Phil walks in there, goes up to Todd Howard, removes his Fallout pin from his bomber
puts his
jacket
on the table first, lets out a little tube.
Yeah, says, look at this on the table. That means I'm in charge
this
here.
Big old cack.
Then he takes off the pin.
Yep.
Then he gives it to Obsidian and says, Obsidian owns Fallout now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like that. Not to mention, I think the way that professionals work, I don't think Obsidian feels comfortable just inheriting something that Bethesda didn't want to give them. But if you look at it, Fallout 3 did amazing, but then New Vegas immediately followed it up. That became the one everyone loves. And then Fallout 4, everyone ended up going either, I'm disappointed, or New Vegas was better. So and the fact that it takes you 6 to 10 years to get an Elder Scrolls, Starfield, or Fallout game out, it would make sense to get Obsidian doing that while because Starfield's actually like an in-house IP, just like Elder Scrolls is. I think that would make sense. But anyways, Josh, to answer your question, no way Fallout.
Yeah, I don't think it's there either. I wouldn't even get on the hopium for that one. Only because I think a couple reasons. I think for one, Obsidian's working on Avowed, then you also have Obsidian still on Grounded. I mean, obviously separate teams for that stuff, but you still have 2 games there, and whatever else.
The Outer Worlds 2.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's what we're going to move into next is Outer Worlds 2. It's not on this list, but it still needs to be worth talked about. But we got a trailer of that. Do you think we just see an update? I don't feel like we'll see a lot of tangible stuff from it.
I think there's a decent chance we get an update. I think one thing we should say, over through this whole conversation, we've mentioned all these potential things. If we've mentioned 12 potential announcements, no matter what, they're not all going to be there,
correct,
right? So, if we get something awesome like a Quake, we might not get an Outer Worlds 2.
Right.
But if we don't get a Quake, we might get an Outer Worlds 2 gameplay. And same goes for Hellblade.
A lot of these all still sound. All this stuff I've listed off still sounds interesting. I mean, there's a couple in there like State of Decay I'm not interested in, but a lot of potential to get me excited.
Yeah. To me, what I'm hearing here is Microsoft easily could have 3-4 years of game output right now we're mentioning that would make them on the Sony level if they put out these games and they were good. They just got to actually put them out there. Is it going to happen,
Absolutely. One of the last couple ones we have on here is Halo Tatanka. Do you think we see that revealed finally?
So for those of you that don't know, Halo Tatanka or whatever is supposed to be this, basically 343 handed off their tools, their engine for Halo Infinite or whatever, to Certain Affinity. That's the Max Hoberman-led studio that has assisted on Halo games in the past. Max Hoberman is also the lead guy behind the original Halo multiplayer, so a guy who knows his shit. They've passed off the Halo Infinite engine or Halo Infinite tools to Certain Affinity to make their own giant multiplayer component addition to Halo Infinite that's assumedly something Battle Royale-esque. And it's pretty much been talked about to the point where I want to say it's pretty much confirmed. I mean, I don't really see any scenario where this doesn't exist. On one hand, it's been, by this fall, it'll be 2 years since Infinite came out. I don't really see there ever being a more relevant time left on the table to release this than now, right?
Yeah.
Like, the longer you wait, the less relevant it will be. So on one hand, I want to be like, I think this is the time. I think they're going to show this. This is it. But on the other hand, like, Halo's just in such a rough spot, and Halo Infinite is just so unrelevant to the industry at large. I'm like, do they show that here? Is this the time? But like, there's no better time than now.
Yeah,
so I'm going to go with I want to see it badly, and it's possible.
Me too.
But I don't think it's going to be here.
Okay. I think I'm 100% on board with that entire statement. I would love to see them, if they're going to announce it, package it in with whatever they want to show off or announce of like the upcoming season. You know, just kind of like if they want to give us a visual preview, like also kind of show that or tease that. But I don't think it's necessarily going to be here at all either. But the last thing on this list, and again, I still got a couple other things to go through, but the last thing on this list, which I wanted to save for last because I think we'll both disagree on this, so I thought it'd be fun. Halo 3 Anniversary.
Halo 3 Anniversary, zero chance of it existing.
Okay.
That's what I say.
Let me get on the hopium for a moment, okay, Brian?
Okay.
I think there's a never say never chance with this game because I think Halo Infinite has underperformed so much, and that studio is mostly focused on the multiplayer. I've heard, according to Jez Corden, who works at Windows Central, and he is more right than he ends up being wrong. He has heard that there is a new Halo project distinct from Infinite in development, and there was also the trademark of the Endless and all that. So I mean, maybe that's that. Maybe that's something to do with that. I don't know, but I would not be surprised if Microsoft was like, "Look, this right now isn't working. Let's just have a CG announced trailer or a title card for Halo 3 Anniversary. Let's go back in the past and let's tease this for coming out in 2027." I don't think it's going to happen necessarily, but I could always see a slight chance that would happen because what the fuck else are they going to do with Halo that's going to get us excited about campaign stuff? I think all the campaign stuff, unless that Endless stuff is a big part of it that comes up in the future, I think in terms of chronological story progression, I don't think we see another Halo Infinite 2 thing for a long time, but I could see them giving us an anniversary or some type of thing potentially before that. I just feel like all future progression in terms of its narrative is going to be on the back burner for a while. We're going to focus on Infinite's multiplayer, this Tatanka stuff. So I see, there's a scenario, like, I want to put it this way. I think I mostly agree with Brian. We won't see this. I don't even think this is necessarily in the cards, but there's a part of me that could genuinely see a scenario where we see a Halo 3 Anniversary over Halo Infinite 2 first, simply because they know that's going to sell. They know that's going to get people excited.
I think there's zero chance of a Halo 3 Anniversary. I think this is completely hopium on Josh's part. Hopium, however you want to put it. No way this is happening. 343 can't afford to work on it. Certain Affinity's already working on something else.
Well, that's one of the reasons I thought this was going to be fake, is I saw that and I thought, don't do that. Don't give me hope, because there's no way.
And Saber Interactive, that did the remasters for the first two Halo games, is now owned by Embracer Group. I think they own Saber Interactive now, so that's not happening. There's no chance, I think. And then the other thing I'll say is, Josh, I definitely told you this before, you might have forgot, but back when the Endless was first trademarked, I was talking to 343 employees that said not only did they never start anything campaign related after Infinite, but they don't even know what the Endless trademark has anything to do with. Nor do they even know what the Endless is.
Well, Brian, just let me live in my delusional land of hopium.
So,
I appreciate you trying to pull me out of that.
This is what I hate. This is what I hate to say, but I truly believe. I think Halo Infinite, or Halo as a franchise, is in standby mode for a very long time. I think 343 is going to manage the multiplayer and the seasons and the books and the action figures and the lore and all that crap. Yeah. I think Certain Affinity is going to release their component, which is also multiplayer heavy, which will probably garner more sales for the microtransactions and season passes. And we will not hear about anything Halo campaign proper again. We won't even hear an announcement for it till late 2020s. Yeah. Even an announcement.
No, that's I think fair.
It's because they got more on. Here's the thing: they got more on their plate now. And it's obvious that Halo isn't doing enough to move them. The Xbox as a brand is not really moved by the Xbox or by Halo anymore. Okay. So I think they got Infinite out the door. Said, hey, you know what? End of the day, Halo Infinite was a pretty decent product. It's there. We gave it to them. It's a good place to leave it for a while.
Sure.
We're going to go on the microtransactions, multiplayer. We're going to let it coast for a long time. That way, if Xbox has been able to structure a major comeback, let's say Josh, let's say it's 2028, and we've played Starfield, Avowed, Fable, Hellblade 2, Quake, all these things. Maybe they acquired Activision Blizzard by then. Obviously I'm still in the camp I don't want them to. Josh would like them to. Let's say they've acquired Activision Blizzard. Now we're getting exclusive Activision Blizzard games. Xbox, they've made a full comeback. We're in the 360 era again, baby. It's 2028. What's the big thing to cap off the E3 showcase at 2028? Halo. It's a reboot. We're bringing it back.
I think
you guys, Halo died a slow death years ago. You guys haven't seen a new release in a long time. 343 is a shell of itself. We're bringing it back in a big way. This is it. This is Halo's return. And by then, it's been so long since we had a Halo game that people are just losing their minds. That's what's going to happen.
No, I think you're not huffing that hopium like I am, so you're probably going to be more right than I would be. So I'm always going to want a Halo 3 anniversary. Always going to want it.